Hi everybody, I'm Stefan for tuts, and in today's tutorial we are going to finish the compositing of our Canon EFS 55 to 250mm lens in After Effects. We have two scenes left to composite and finally put together everything in one final project file. And let's get started. Here we have the scene 5 composition with the camera and the helper layer we have, and let's open the passes folder here and drop the beauty pass here, and we need to after that drop the ambient occlusion pass and change the blending mode to multiply for this one, and we are going to set the opacity to 50% just to reduce the shadows on the lens a bit. And after that we are going to apply the diffuse pass on top of the ambient occlusion, and we are going to set this to screen and set the opacity to 50% as well, because we don't want this part to be so bright. So let's reduce this to a 50%, and now let's go to the reflection pass and apply it as well, and we are going to set this to screen and set the opacity to 25%, so we have not so strong reflections. And finally we are going to take the specular pass and put it on top of everything and change the blending mode to add, and we are going to apply effect color correction levels to this one, and we are going just to increase the contrast for this, so we have some as you can see, this is before, this is after the correction. We want some more specular highlights here. So basically that's it. Now we need to create a new layer, which is the particles layer, and let's click OK for this one. Go to effect, trap code, and apply particular. Now let's open the emitter and let's set the number of particles per second to 1500. Let's zero the position. Let's set the emitter type to box, and let's change the settings basically using the same settings as we did before. Let's set the velocity to 3 and the velocity from motion to 10. Let's set the pre-run to 100, and let's open the particle, set the life to 8, set the sphere feather to 0, and let's set the size to 0.2 and the size random to 50. And let's open the, let's see, size over wife and use this type of curve here, one of the presets. Let's open the physics and let's set the gravity to -1. Open the air and the turbulence field tab, and let's set the effect position to 200, the scale to 2, and the evolution speed to 10. And we are ready with setting up the parameters here for this one. Now what we need to do is to take the disk and the camera, let's duplicate them, put them on top, turn off the disk, select the layers, and let's pre-compose, and let's call this one scene 5 composite. Now we need to go here and take our depth map and put it here. As you can see, this is how it looks like, and it's pretty shallow, and we need to fix it. So we are going to apply effect color correction levels to this one, and we are going to set the input black to 17 just to make this a bit stronger, and we are going to pre-compose this and call it DM for depth map, and select the scene 5 composite, and we are going to apply effect depth of field effect, and we're going to use the depth map here and set this to 10, and go to the depth buffer and invert it, and maybe 10 is a bit strong, so we're going to use something a bit different, and maybe change this to 200, 150, basically let's see, we want let's see to show the show option to the sharp zone, and basically here is what we want, and this is the curve, so maybe we want the sharp zone to be around here, and let's set this to normal blur. If we set this to 1, it's okay. So I think that this is pretty good right now, and we need to open the composition and copy the particles and paste them on top of everything and change the random seed, just because we have some autofocus particles here. And now we need to create adjustment layer and name it CC for color correction, create another one and name it Go, and create another one and let's call it OF for optical flares, and click OK. And for the color correction we are going to use the color correction we used in our previous shots. So let's turn off this, put the color correction on top of everything, and let's put the sharpen below, set this to 10, go to the boot channel and tweak the settings a bit, and let's apply noise and grain noise, and we are ready with the color correction. Now for the glow, we want to put this on top of everything and apply stylized glow, and set the threshold to 90, because we want only the brightest areas of our image to be affected by the glow, basically these gold elements here. Set the glow radius to 15 and set the glow intensity to 0.7, just to reduce the glow a touch. And for the optical flares we are going to go to effect, let's select the layer, turn it on, go to effect, video copilot, and apply optical flares. And I'm going to use the FDA preset again. Let's see the original preview. As you can see, we are going to put this one here, maybe increase the brightness a bit, and apply color correction tint and set this to 75 and set this to add. So far so good. What we need to do is just to create the widget sort of thing here. As you can see, we have 3 lines with some elements here and numbers, which is pretty easy thing to do. Now this is where our disk takes place. Let's go to the first frame, reset all the keyframes and set this to 90. And if we pre-compose this and call it widget, we don't see anything actually, so we need to select our camera and just copy and paste it here, so we see the camera movement and everything. And what we can try is, let's go back here and let's select the disk, copy and paste it here in the main composition, and let's pre-compose and leave all the attributes here. So if we do that, watch what happened. We have our 100 by 100 pixels composition here, and we can just increase this size if we want. But 100 by 100 will be small, so that's why we increased it. And we need to do, take the ellipse, remove the fill, alt click and just click on the icon to remove and toggle between the modes, set this to 2 and if we change this size and maybe change this to 1 and go to this part here, let's turn off the disk so we can see what we are doing. And if we make this 3D layer and hit the collapse transformation switch, and let's turn off the widget comp, and let's see, we need to lock this viewer, go to this composition and create new viewer just for this comp, and we can just tweak this and set this to 40, and that's the first one. We need to create 2 more. So duplicate the layer, increase the radius like so, duplicate it again, increase the radius even more, and maybe set this to 0.5 for the rest of the elements, and select this one and hit P for the position, and you can see we can just move it a bit, and let's decrease the size like so. And what we need to do in this composition here is to animate these elements. So we are going to apply the trim paths modifier to each one of them, and let's apply the trim paths here. Just set a keyframe, move like 30 frames forward and set this to 0, and let's apply the trim paths here as well. Go to the 10 frames, maybe 5 frames forward, just to have a bit of offset in the animation, and set a keyframe and move 30 frames forward and just animate it. And we are going to repeat this for the third layer as well. Apply the trim paths, and let's move like 10 frames forward, set a keyframe for this and move 30 frames forward and animate it. And we are going just to rotate this randomly, so they are not starting from the same point. And now we need to come to this point here and find the center of the composition to create this dashed lines. So take the pen tool and just create a line, and let's set this to 1 maybe, and let's apply a repeater modifier. Let's open the repeater and set the number of copies to 360. Go to the transform repeater, set the position to 0 and set the rotation to 1, and that way let's see, we need to make this 3D layer to see it. As you can see, this does not work pretty well, so we are going to set this to maybe, let's see, 72, and this to 5, and maybe decrease this to 0.5 or 0.1. 0.1 works fine. So if we set this to 360 and this to 1, it's going to work pretty good. Now we need to duplicate this, and let's take the path, take the point, drag it a bit more, and we are going to divide this by 5 and multiply this by 5, so we get this type of effect, as you can see. So we have one longer line each 5 lines to create some sort of like widget or something. And if we select the line and move it, we can shorten this, and the rest is to create the numbers. So let's go to type 0 for example, and let's make the size pretty small, like 5. Make this one 3D, and let's position it like so. And we are going to hit R for the rotation and type index multiply by 10. Oops, index multiply by 10, which means that the number of the index, which is 1 here, multiplied by 10 does nothing. But if we do a copy, it rotates it. What we need to do is to take the layer, just turn off the expression for now, take the layer, take the pen behind tool, take the anchor point, let's turn off the guide, take the anchor point and put it in the middle of our composition, and you can see some magic happening when we do that. So if we enable the expression, you can see if we do another copy, it moves the number with 10 degrees, just offsets it, but we want the number to change. So in order to do this to happen automatically, we need to alt click on the source text and just link it to the Z rotation, and this way we have the number 10 right now. And if we make a copy, we have 20, 30, 40, and it goes like that. As you can see, the number changes, and we have everything we need so far. And we can select the numbers, and if we create a new object for them and make it a 3D new object and select all the numbers and link them to the null, and since the null is in the center of our composition, we can just scale it down and it's going to scale our numbers, as you can see. So let's set this to 85, and that's it. As you can see, let's close this. We have our widget here, and we need to apply some depth of field on it as well. So we can take this main layer, just copy the depth of field and apply it here, and this is how it looks. But I don't like this type of result, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to apply a rectangle mask to the layer, and I'm going to take these lines and just hit Control, select the full mask, hit Control T, and just drag this part like that. And hit F and apply feather of 100, and just duplicate the layer, invert the mask, and basically we are going to apply some out of focus blur, like 5 pixels, so we can create this nice type of depth of field effect. So that's how we composite scene number 5 for our video, and I'm going to save this project and open scene 6 so we can complete it and finally put together all the scenes in one main timeline. Here we are in scene 6, so we can open the folder and take our beauty path and drop it first here, and after that take the ambient occlusion and drop it on top of it. Change the blending mode to multiply for this one, hit T for the opacity and set the opacity to 50%. After that, we are going to apply the diffuse layer and put it on top of the ambient occlusion, and we are going to set the blending mode for the diffuse to screen and hit T to review the opacity and set the opacity to 75%. After that, we are going to select our specular pass and drop it on top of the diffuse. Change the blending mode to add for this one, hit T to review the opacity, and go to effect, color correction, and apply, let's see, levels, and just to increase the contrast again for the specular. And now we need to go to the project panel again and apply the ambient pass here, and let's change this to screen, which is the pass only for the letters on the lens, because if we turn this off, you can see we don't see the letters pretty good. So we need to just turn it on and set the opacity for it to 50 as well. And now we need to apply the reflection and refraction passes. So we need to set the reflection to screen and set the opacity to 50%, and we need to set the refraction to add and set the opacity to 75%. As you can see, we have some beautiful reflections and refractions here on the lens. And what we need to do is to take everything we have here, all the passes, and we need to take them and just pre-compose them and call this one scene 6 composite. Once we have everything pre-composed, we need to create a copy of this one. We need to create a new solid, and let's call this one particles. Go to effect, trap code particular, and go to the emitter. Set the number of particles to 750, and let's zero the position of the particles, and let's set the emitter type to box as well, and set the velocity and velocity from motion to 3 and 10, and let's just increase the size of the emitter as we did before. Actually set this to 200 and 2500 as well, and for the pre-run we need to set this to 100, so we have particles emitted at the beginning of our sequence. And let's go to the particle, set the life of the particle to 8, set the sphere feather to 0, and let's set the size to 0.3 or maybe 0.5. Let's set the size random to 50, and let's open the physics tab. Let's set the gravity to -1, and let's open the air and the turbulence field tab, and let's set the effect position to 200, the scale to 2, and the evolution offset to 10. Actually the evolution speed maybe to 10, and now we need to apply blur, but I prefer to keep the particles sharp for this shot, because as you can see here, we can see them. There are some particles that are out of focus and particles that are in focus, and these are going to be the particles that will be out of focus, because we are going to put this composition into another composition later on and add more particles and stuff like that. So let's keep the particles like so, and let's take the object buffer and put it here. And as you can see, we have some problems with the object buffer because of the lens here, so we are going to pre-compose this, and let's call this one OB for object buffer, and let's open this one. Let's create a new white solid, and we are going to fix it really quickly. Let's create a circular mask hit to review the properties, set a keyframe for the mask path, and move like some frames backwards, and just increase the size of the mask. And we need to set some intermediate keyframes here because we have speed changes in our render. So far so good, and we need to move here and move the mask and animate it again, and drag it like so. And at this point here we need to select it and move it like that, and just scale it up just a bit. And at this point we don't need the layer to be visible anymore. So that's the fixed object buffer, and we're going to put the particles between the two compositions and use this as a Woma mat, so we have the particles behind the lens. Also turn on the motion blur for the particles in this composition. And right now we need to take this one and put it into another composition, so let's take the camera, duplicate it, and select everything. Let's call this one scene 6 composite 2, and now we are going to take the depth pass and put it in our composition here. This is our depth pass, and we are going to open this, copy the particles and paste them here, and simply change the random seed so we get a different seed for the particles, and select the scene 6 composite 2, and let's go to effect and apply the depth of field blur. Select our depth pass, and we are going to change this to 15 and go to the buffer and invert it. And this is what we get so far. So at the first frame we need to set the focal point to 100 and set a keyframe. Move to 1 second mark, and we just need to trace this and set this to 150, so we have this part in focus, and go to the 2 seconds and 20 frames mark, and let's set this to 80 and just keep it like that, and maybe go to the end frame and maybe set this to 100, or maybe reduce this to 40, 30. Let's see, we need to see when this is going to be in focus, so just tweak the settings, and I think that 40 is our number. So this is how our keyframes look for the depth of field blur. And now we need to apply some glow, optical flares and color corrections. So let's create an adjustment layer, and let's name this one CC for color correction, duplicate it, and let's name this one glow. And for the glow we are going to effect stylize glow, and we are going to change the threshold to 90% and the glow radius to 25 and the glow intensity to 0.5. And for the color correction we are going to go to color correction curves once again, basically do the same color correction we did previously. And now blur and sharpen, apply sharpen, and go to effect, noise and grain, and apply noise. Set this to 4, And this is our color correction. Now we need to create two layers of optical flares, and let's apply optical flares to the first one, and we are going to use the FDA preset once again, and let's set the optical flares to add mode, and this one on this part is going to be a warmer color, so something like that, and maybe increase the scale to 200, and this is going to be like such a warm color. And of course apply color correction tint to reduce the saturation a bit, and just duplicate the layer and reset the color and move it to the opposite side like that. And basically, and that's it for the compositing this final scene. We are going to shorten it a bit. We are going to cut the scene at some point, and let's see how it looks like. I think it's pretty good, and maybe we need to put this between the glow and the color correction, and take the warmer one and scale it even more so we get more color from it. And that's it. I'm going to save this and create a new project file and import all the project files and the Canon logo. So we are going to put everything together. Here we are again with all the project files and the Canon logo. Now what we need to do is to take the scene 1 as well as scene 2, and let's see, scene 3, we need to rename this, and basically take all the scenes here and put them into one single composition. So select all the compositions, put them into a single composition, and just click sequence layers, and we need to reverse the sequence, and basically we needed to start from, if we delete this just to show you, with scene 1, scene 2, and then scene 3, scene 4, 5 and 6, and if we drag and drop them into a new composition and check sequence layers, it's going to sequence the layers correctly. So we are going to switch to seconds here to see the seconds, and increase this to 36 seconds, and let's take everything and move it a bit. Take the Canon logo here, and let's click the collapse transformation for the vector logo, and for the first as you can see, we maybe need to tweak the focal point at the beginning. Set this to 4S, and if we set this to 100 or 255, it's going to be fully in focus, which is what we want. And basically we need to select the Canon logo and increase the scale to 220, I guess is the right scale for it, or 215, and try to have like at this point 220. On 250 you just need to tweak the settings, set a keyframe, move it to the beginning, and if we extend the layer like that, we can set this to 240 on 235, and then we know that the first 30 frames of our sequence will not rotate, so we have 30 frames to fade in the wall. We need to match this like so. Let's hit P for the position, and if we hit T for the opacity and set the opacity to 0 at this point, we have this, as you can see, smooth transition from the red wall to the actual meta wall here. And what we need to do is to cut this here, and we need to make like 10 or 20 frames fading for each scene. So let's take this, and 20 frames is fine because we have some pretty short scenes, just to have some smooth transitions here. Select the scene 3, set a keyframe for the opacity, move forward, set this to 0, and basically repeat the same steps for all of the compositions. And that's it. That's the scene 5. You can see how it looks like right now. And the scene 6, we are going to cut it somewhere around here. We are going to create a black solid, and let's call it fader. And let's make it fade this. It has 30 frames to fade it, and now we are going to put the Canon logo again on the screen, scale it up and move it up a bit, and using the type the typograph ultrawide, we are going to type making your memory fast, and just scale down the type. We have some pretty small title here, and just duplicate this and scenes and the ear. Let's center this, and we can pre-compose this, and hit T for the opacity and animate it in. Hit S for the scale, start from this point here, just trim the layer and set this to 90. So that's it. As you can see, that's the final part of our tutorials. We finished successfully our fake 3D commercial for EFS 55 to 250mm lens. Hope you like this series and find it useful. Once again, I'm Stefan for Tuts Plus, and we'll see you next time.